The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. It's Lisa Travers here from Alliance. Thanks for being patient. We always try to wait a couple of extra minutes to allow people to sign in. Today we have a presentation for you on tower attachment accessories. I'm going to hand things over right away to Jerry Besner from Alliance. He's the Director of Tower and Accessory Sales. He is an engineer, and I work with him a lot, so I know that he lives up to that stereotypical engineer, being paying a lot of attention to the details. So I think that it's a good person to have in the role that he plays, and he brings to us a long career in the wireless industry, in particular with towers and accessories. So with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Jerry.
Thank you, Lisa. It's great to have an introduction where you've given me so many accolades. For those who know me, and I know quite a few names of people who have signed up, you know that I do have a few gray hairs that I accumulated after close to 40 years in the industry. One of the interesting things that I just want to start off the presentation is saying that although I've been in the industry for many years in many different aspects, and just previous to Alliance, worked for 14 years at Trilon, which did a lot of deployment of networks, and I actually managed their resale business of accessories as well. I found myself when I joined Alliance saying, you know, knowing some part numbers, but not really understanding the accessory business. And during my last 2 years at Alliance, I've now come across a lot of engineers similar to myself and people like you out there who are dealing in accessories and probably wondering why we should spend so much time on these things that are treated more like commodities. And at the beginning, I used to treat them as commodities as well until I realized that just about every single one of those items out there that we treated as commodities was not a commodity and really has a story in itself. So what he thought we'd do today is really not really talk about one particular product as such, but really talk about the industry of tower attachment accessories. So looking at that, I put together this agenda, and you know, what I basically say is, what are the tower cable attachment accessories? Good place to start. You know, and then what are the design specifications associated with it? And who are some of the major players out there, and what do they contribute to this part of the business, and a little history maybe as well, and review some of the very basic products. And I say some because there's so many products out there that we touch and feel, and as we get into it, there's different sizes associated with that as well. And you know, as the world changes, accessories are changing, and the question sometimes is, why are they changing? You know, it's like when you build a house, you got brick and mortars, but the accessories are changing, and so do the price points, and they vary, and they kind of vary all over the place. And even looking at that at times, I got to scratch my head, and that's the gray hair there, of course, and kind of look at why are they changing and what's the added value. And then there's always the time to market, the cost associated with that, and that definitely there's always a need to get things done. And I know from the list of people who are signed up, there's that great need to get sites up on air, get your networks up, get your wireless networks performing, and get them performing well, at the first time. And then I just want to talk a little bit at the end about kitting and how, you know, if you get all the product to the site at the right time and make sure it's there, you can save time and money associated with that. And lastly, an important element that sometimes may not show itself until the very end is what is quality associated with the various accessories. So looking at that, I thought I just start with one quick slide, and I promise you it's only one quick slide, an overview of Alliance for those of you who are not familiar with the company. Alliance itself is a distribution company, and we were formed just over 20 years ago with a headquarters in Mississauga, Ontario. It's just outside of Toronto. We're the largest distributor of wireless communications cables and accessories in Canada. We have a proven team of over 300 people in North America with a strong track record of commercial success on many, many major projects. Our products are really all site solutions: cables, cable accessories, towers, accessories, broadband radios for the wireless industry as well. And we represent well over 100 leading manufacturers. We're almost like a big supermarket when it comes to wireless products. We also bring something different than some of our other competitors, that we're very innovative and market leaders. We were the first to bring fiber to the tower, and we did that with connectorizing in our own facility. So we actually have a very high level of expertise and a very big investment in the fiber connectorizing product lines. Sales results, we've supported thousands of cellular builds in North America, and our customers range from those, some of who are on the line right now, from AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, Bell, Rogers, TELUS, and many, many more in the marketplace. So let's get down to really why we're here, and that is, what are tower cable attachment accessories? So to take a look at that, I thought let's take a look at some products out there and kind of get an idea of what I want to talk about a little bit in a little bit of detail. So, up on the far left-hand corner is a butterfly hanger, some entry panels into a shelter, angle adapters, different types of standoffs or hose clamps, weatherproofing kits, and an important item on the top right side is a hoisting grips, different types of attachments, and at the bottom we have a grounding kit. So when we look at that, and kind of the best way of saying is here's a site, could be any tower, just about any type of requirement, and you get to see a lot of the accessories that are in play in putting together your wireless communication system. And when you look at each of these items, there's not only one that's applicable to making this work. There's multiple choices of products that can make this work. And different design people decide to build their networks differently. One thing that is always should be taken into consideration when you're building a site is, is the load on the tower associated with it as well. And, you want to make sure that the accessories don't really add much wind resistance to the tower, and that you're doing things in the most effective way and the best way to service that tower in the future as well. By servicing, I mean adding more capacity, changing your network, doing things that lead to better, newer technologies that are more easily deployed as well. So there's a lot of considerations that are required in choosing some of these accessories that go onto your site as well. But when we start to talk about choosing accessories, what are the design specifications? And at one time I kind of looked at this here and I said, all these accessories are commodities. And in fact, they are not commodities. So when we look at design specifications, there are many elements that come into play, and they play differently with just about every single accessory product line out there. So there's the mechanical specifications, and I'm going to get into a little bit more detail on each of these bullets as we go through the presentation. But I just want to kind of say, hey, in looking at specifications, these are the upper bold things we've got to consider is, the mechanical specifications, the dimensions, the electrical specifications, the general specifications, the packing dimensions, and there's some regulatory compliance stuff that you'll find, some certifications and stuff that are on some specification data sheets out there in the market. So what do they all mean as well, and how do they come together? Well, ultimately, the first item we talked about is mechanical specifications. And this is really a very extensive list, and it's very product dependent, and I could probably spend an hour for webinar talking about each of these items. But that's not the intent of this webinar. It's really to say there's a lot of different things that have to be taken into consideration in choosing accessories, and it just kind of exposed this audience to some of that. So the type of steels. Most people will put stainless steel. You really want to look for the greatest stainless steel, and 304 tends to be the most commonly used out there in the marketplace. So when I'm looking at accessories, I'm looking to see if they're marked 304 or on the spec sheet they're indicated to be that way. And that really applies on the threaded rod sizes. You know, the threaded rod size, there's 3/8, 5/16, and there's metric as well. And you know, people, you know, saying there's no difference. Well, if you have an M8 or M10, or you have 3/8 or you have 5/16, and then you start mixing or trying to mix different accessories, they won't go on. And so that's really important in what's happening out there. And there's, you know, there's actually, when we talk about some of the material as well, I mentioned stainless steel, and galvanized is still out there as well, and a lot of people prefer that over stainless steel, and there's some advantages on both parts. Then you get on the, you know, the rods, the bolt lengths associated with that, and they vary. You could have 4 inches up to 12 inches, and different people, you know, configure their networks differently. And sometimes I've seen they don't really take in all the proper engineering principles when they take a threaded rod and they extend it and then start putting on their clips, you know, maybe 4 or 5 inches from the mounting point. Then there's the installation torque specs, material thickness as well. Some of these things are published, and in many cases they're not published on specification sheets. The actual load capacity, you know, what's happened with respect to vibration testing on some of these products. And that's just a list of some of the steel products. When you look at rubber, you know, so some of the easy things is everybody wants to be sure about the UV resistance test method, you know, weather resistance test method. So, you know, only if you're putting any product out there, these are really important things to take into consideration if you have any type of rubber product associated with that. Now, just getting into what could be a simple item is a butterfly hanger. As an example, where you may see some confusion is the nominal size. So this picture is like a 7/8 inch butterfly hanger. And then you get the issue that sometimes gets complicated out there is specifications that are metric or imperial measurement. What's the capacity, the dimensions, min and max, what can they hold in different coaxial cables and sizes, and the heights and the length and the width. So these are sort of dimensions of the individual product and should be taken into consideration as well as the application of the product. So just staying with the same butterfly hanger, which seems to be a pretty inept object, you then find some manufacturers, and particularly some of the better ones, will talk about DTF effect. Well, you say, well, what is the DTF effect? Well, that's distance to fault, and they're publishing it as 0.1 dB and return loss of 0.1 dB. Very few companies out there actually talk about the electrical specifications of their products and how it affects the network and what it is. We're all familiar with coaxial cable. The losses are based on the size of the cable, but some of the accessories that you could be using could also affect the performance of the product. So then we get into what I like to refer to, which is on the specification sheets, as general specifications. And when you start looking at the general specification, it's more on the application of the product. So here is a snap-in hanger, and basically what it is, and it comes as one. The color is silver. It's stainless steel. You know, this company that I took it from didn't publish it at 304. And you could stack 3 at a time, and a package comes as 10. So that's sort of the general specification of just one product, and it applies to many, many other products. Now, things do get more complicated when you get into multiple items in a kit. And, you know, weatherproof kits are sold in the thousands, and, you know, the application there provide moisture seal for cable connectors. And when you start looking at this, or you start looking at, well, what is the grade of tape? You know, so there's no-name tapes out there at a lower cost, or you could get 3M 700 tape, which is a commercial grade, or if you really want to get a little more sophisticated, you could get 3M 33 plus and pay a little bit more, and that'll offer you more protection. And ultimately, it always boils down to, as well, as the proper application of the product. So here you have a weatherproof kit. This is a very generic one I put up there. And so you get the butyl in there, you get the bigger roll of tape, and just about every manufacturer sells it in a similar configuration. But although it's sold in a similar configuration, the contents vary as well. And each item in the package becomes an important element in making a decision as to what you need and how you're going to proceed. Well, packing dimensions doesn't sound like a lot, or important, but when you start putting kits together and you start getting product together, and it's really important to understand how this all could get together and how it could all actually be packaged. And so you will find on a lot of data sheets dimensions of the package. So if it's a kit of 10, what is that? How does that measure? What does it weigh? And so it's associated with putting things together. So when you want to ship it out, you could have a more accurate bill of material associated with going out to your customers or your actual application as well. And somebody's picking it up at a station is properly prepared to pick up the right size of box. Now, here's another one, and I'd like to say I have a camera out there viewing everybody who signed up for this webinar so I could see the reaction on your face. And that's, I guess, you've probably heard it before, is one of the disadvantages of a webinar is you can hear my voice and I can't respond to anybody yawning in the audience. So hopefully you're all paying a lot of attention to what I'm saying, and especially on regulatory compliance certificates. So you'll see a lot of the ROHS on certificates, and what does it mean? Well, it's restriction of the use of certain hazardous substances. Well, so is it important? Well, it's important enough that in Europe they have it advertised a lot, and in China they have their own, and in Canada we also comply with the international standard 2001. And so you'll see a lot of this here on certain data specification sheets, and you have to weigh that in relationship to the value it adds. So quickly going over what we said in design specifications, you have the mechanical, the dimensions, the electrical, the general, the packing, and the regulatory. And then at the bottom of that, you're saying to yourself, really, are design specifications important? Well, I think that's a good question, because a lot of us have treated this here as commodities, and some companies really stick with what they know because it's proven to be successful for the last 20 years. But, for instance, when I say are design specifications important, I focus on a hoisting grip. So besides the type of hoisting grip, where the selection, if you don't have the right one, won't work for the application. So you could have an open or a laced up, which is sometimes called a closed or pre-laced. So the type of cable, if you have connectors at the end, it's important to choose the right one. It's really important to also choose the right size, because if you have a hoisting grip that's too large, it may slip, it won't work. And the important things really of this particular product, it supports the cable. So what is the break strength? What can it pull? What can it hold? Now, only if you're going up a tower that's 300 feet and you've got fiber, it's very light. But if you're going up a 300-foot tower that has a power cable and a hybrid cable with power and fiber, or a very large coaxial cable, you've got to have that cable properly supported on that structure to ensure it's not going to come down. So you've got to make sure that the hoisting grips are the right ones, properly chosen, and have the capacity, and also are properly spaced. Because what we're seeing, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is no longer are we strictly looking at coaxial cable by the same company. So for instance, those who have been in the industry for a little while, realize one time when you bought coaxial cable, you pretty well always bought the accessories from the same manufacturer, because the OD of the cable would vary just a little bit, and you wanted to make sure the fit was proper, and it seemed to be the right thing to do. But as time's gone on, cable has changed, the vendors have changed, and the accessories have changed, and even the nomenclature on various packages from various vendors where they would say it is for half-inch coaxial cable, now they say it's for half-inch cable. And therefore there's an element of what really is the OD of the product you really want to use. And so choosing the right product, the right accessories is extremely important in many cases. So the hoisting grip is one example of one. So what does Alliance offer? We're not really a manufacturer of product, but we offer multiple lines of accessories. So we've been the #1 supplier of COMMSCOPE product in the Canadian market, a major source of COMMSCOPE products in the U.S., and COMMSCOPE with the Andrew brand has been a world leader as well. So we offer and still offer a full gamut of all COMMSCOPE products. I'm pleased to do so. And we also have the ability to offer Site Pro 1 from Valmont. And the reason we offer multiple lines, and I don't have them all here because we do offer some RFS as well, is different companies do things slightly different, and there are different applications required in the marketplace where one vendor cannot make it all happen to meet the needs of the site in the best deployable manner. So recently we also brought on Fimo, which is an Italian manufacturer on a global basis, and we've been very pleased with some of their twist hangers for microwave, their snap-in hangers. And then becomes the question of competitiveness. I'm sure you're all saying, and I know from some of the questions that came in at the beginning, is we want to have a very cost-effective solution. And that's important. It's important for everybody running a business is to have that. And when I joined the Alliance, I said, how can we help our customers improve their bottom line, ensure we get the right products, and we introduced what we call our AC line. And this is no compromise on quality. It's a question of branding. It's a question of how we bring product to the market. And I'll go into that a little bit more as we go through this presentation. So Alliance provides a large variety of attachment accessories for all types of structures. So we're not limited to a certain number. As I indicated, we have accessories, our own AC line. We partner with COMMSCOPE, Site Pro 1, Fimo, and offer their full line. We can provide, one of the added values is we can provide a table with the recommended accessories for each trunk cable, proportionate to the requirements of any length. So that really goes beyond just the cable, it goes to the whole site. So we're able to work with our various partners, customers, and help them find a solution that could be to deploy at 100 sites or thousands of sites, which we have done more recently as well. We've also designed various accessories such as grommets or hanger inserts that allow standard coaxial-based accessories to accommodate fiber and power cables. And I'm going to talk a little bit more of that and show you some pictures as well. So what is the Alliance advantage? Is really we have a wide product selection. We have multiple vendors, strong product knowledge and support that we bring. Inventory in 5 stocking locations in North America right now, and we have 2 more proposed in the United States that will be operational by the end of 2014. And we offer the highest quality in products and standards and excellent supply chain operations so that we could get the product to you, which is in many cases the same day, next day as well. And that's really an important aspect of building sites. So I indicated the AC line a little earlier on, and it is a full line of products. Not everything that the marketplace requires, but some of the most common products, and a few that are getting to be introduced on an ongoing basis. And when we do this here, we always make sure that it's equal in quality to what our customers are currently buying. So our stainless steel is always the highest grade 304. The fabrication, the products, there's no compromise on our side associated with that. So we also have a full catalog online. It's online and a hard copy as well that we've been recently introducing of what the AC line products are. So one of the bullets I had was, are accessories changing and why? Well, the real reason they're changing, and here's a picture of some of the composite hybrid cables that we've done more recently. And if you look at this cable, this is very large OD cable, and associated with that is how do you get this up the structure, what happens, and what do you need? So when we look at that, there's a real large variety of fiber, power, hybrid cables, different ODs out there, and you got to come up with different solutions. And so when I get involved in a opportunity, you know, I look at the specifications and what the published OD is and the nominal OD, and I never really feel 100% comfortable, especially if it's new cable being produced, and a lot of this ends up being that way, is that unless I have a sample and I could put it into the, you know, the hanger, the grommet, the insert that I want to use, and the block, to make sure it's a good fit. And that's really important because it's got to be a good fit. And also we've got to look at what is the most economical solution to do this. So sometimes you may have a block or a snap and hanger and then you've got to put in an insert. But that could be more expensive than having the right size block in the first place. So when you take a look at some of the things that are out there right now, so on the picture up on the top left is some power cable, 3 power cables and 2 different blocks with a insert with 3 fiber cables all connected together to go up a tower, and that's one of our applications. In the middle there's another grommet for 4 sizes of fiber and 2 other cables. And then, you know, on the far right, you start seeing it underneath it is a little bit of an innovative design where we're looking at a block that has capability of 2 power cables and a fiber cable all in one block, so that the cost of doing that is far less expensive than having blocks and inserts associated with that and connecting that to the tower. So that's the picture also on the bottom right. Is a sample of one that has 1 power and 1 fiber. In the middle is what we've just recently introduced is one of our new metric blocks, and this is a product that goes from 5 to 8 millimeters for fiber, and we have one that goes from 8 to 12, and one slightly larger than that. So innovative ways of bringing low-cost solutions up the tower. And there's fiber light, there's all kinds of connection boxes that are available. A lot of them, most of them are specialized. Is looking over the list of people in attendance, a lot of you, you know, like most organizations, want to have the right solution for your needs, and it could be a customized solution with customized accessories associated with that as well. But the customized accessories really doesn't just stop at the product itself. You know, it goes into the packaging. So if you look closely, say on the right-hand picture, you'll see our 65 AC SH114, which is a snap and hanger for high-capacity fiber. So not only are we labeling things generically, you know, for customers, we'll label things specifically for their application. So when it goes out to the contractor potentially doing the job, there's no miss in how the products are being deployed. So customized packaging is also tends to be an important aspect if you're looking at a major operation. And the same thing goes in shipping too, because you want to make sure you get the most cost-effective rate. And so you may be shipping products in bulk, or you may be shipping in smaller kitted site packages. So when we look at site packages, here's a picture on the right where you'll have the cable for the site and all the accessories to do that job, all packaged, all on a skid, all labeled to go to the site. So whatever it takes, so the kitting that Alliance provides is the ability to take multiple lines of accessories, multiple products to meet an individual need and the best quality to make it happen. So when we look at getting things out, how do you package it? You want to make sure that your skids are properly shrink wrapped, the corners are properly done, everything's together, the information is properly loaded on there as well, and therefore when it gets to another distribution center or it gets to the end site, the product is properly maintained and it gets to where it's got to go to the site and up the tower proper. So when I started, I talked about quality, and we're not a manufacturer, but quality really starts at the design stage. And a lot of these accessories have been out there for a long time, and it's hard to look at that information as a distributor right now. I've talked to numerous vendors, and I've checked their quality processes and their documentation, and it really becomes what they do. And when we look at each accessory out there, and the hundreds that are out there, it almost requires a full-time product person to manage those accessories, which is done at the manufacturing area. So you got to design it properly, and then you got to manufacture it properly. And during the manufacturing process, it also has to be well maintained on an ongoing basis. And there's no surprises. These accessories are global products, and like a lot of global commodity type products, a lot of them are produced in China, and a lot of them are produced in the same factories, but under different brand names as well. So you got to understand the manufacturing process, but then even more important is the incoming inspection. So at Alliance here, we have a incoming inspection person, Joey, who is part of our quality assurance team. We've got a quality assurance manager, and we're constantly looking at all our vendors' products coming in to make sure that things are the same, because they are changing to some degree. And a lot of times, if they're functionally the same, quality's the same, they're fine, but some of the products change slightly, and so we're always on top of that. And always on top of the packaging. Did they come in properly packaged, and are they ready to go? So then the next slide I have here is questions. And we've had some questions come in, not too many questions so far. I've tried to address most of the questions that came in my presentation. But for you user out there, I guess you can't talk back to me, but if you have any questions, please sort of jot them down on your computer, and Lisa, who is still somewhere there sleeping in her office because of my boring presentation to her, will make sure I get them and the ability to address them. So please take a few minutes to think about it, and I do also want to say I covered a lot of material in a very superficial manner. And the reason I did that is there's a wide audience out there of people who buy accessories, use accessories, deploy accessories, and I want to make sure I try to cover a little bit for everybody, but I really want to make sure that I'm here, Jerry Besner at Alliance, and I'm here to support the industry. I'm here to support any questions you may have, not only today, but the ability to work with you to help you find the right solution, to get some sample packages out to you so that you could try the various accessories, see how they play. We could get some design specifications, which we've done on various products. We've done some of our own in-house temperature testing to make sure we're satisfied with the products as well, and to make that happen.
Hi, Jerry, it's Lisa. I do have a couple of questions that have come in.
Okay.
So, the first question is there any software you recommend for managing accessory BOMs for sites, especially with the ability to reuse template BOMs for multiple sites?
That's a good question. Like, I've seen a lot of BOMs come in, and I'm having to respond to them, and most of them that I've seen have always come in on Excel spreadsheets. And in working with some of the major carriers, we have different Excel spreadsheets and different documents, but I personally have not seen any software that's commercially available or have been developed that would address that question.
Okay. Then the next question is, can you please expand on the loss of DTF with the snap-ins, the 0.1 dB?
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting question, because when I was looking at that, and as I indicated, for 30-odd years I've been in the industry, and I never paid attention to that. And then when I was doing this webinar, putting the material together, I started to look at that, and I started to do a lot of reading associated with the distance to fault, and that's one of my takeaways. So because I don't have a really good explanation as to how it is determined by the company that published it is COMMSCOPE. I haven't found anybody else that publishes it or wants to actually address the issue with me as well. So I will research that one a little bit more and try to get you a better response than what I have just indicated.
Okay, so I think that's all the questions we have. If anyone has any other questions, we will take them offline. Do you have anything else you want to add, Jerry?
I just want to thank everybody, those that have signed in, and it was a really good group of people from both Canada and the United States that have signed in to listen to this presentation. Hopefully I've been able to answer some of your questions, and maybe even more important, put some question marks in your mind as to what you're buying, where you're buying it from, and are you getting the best deal? Like, can you save on money? Can you get an equivalent or better product than what you're doing? And have an opportunity of talking with you on an individual basis to make sure that we close the gap. I thank you very much for your participation.
Thanks, Jerry. Bye-bye.